The Brandon Peters Show may contain explicit language and detailed plot points. For more information on the show, stay tuned to the end of the episode. And now, here's Brandon.
All right, welcome back to the show. Today we'll be discussing the film Grosse Pointe Blank with writer Aaron Neuwirth. But first, I just want to, I'm not going to start every show with a thank you, but thank you everyone for the enthusiasm you've been showing for the show. I hope you enjoyed the first week and are ready for another one and see how things just kind of evolve. Let me know. Either way, I'm keen to hear your feedback. Email, comment, post, whatever. Just, let me know what I'm doing or what I'm bad at. Either way, it's good. And now, let me welcome my guest. The guest for today has plenty of impressive credentials to introduce him with. A member of the Hollywood Critics Association. He's a contributor for Variety. He's a senior film and TV editor at We Live Entertainment. He's a writer for Why So Blue. And when a microphone is in front of him, he's the host of the podcast Out Now with Aaron and Abe. And despite speaking on pretty much a daily basis, I'm still honored and humbled to welcome Aaron Neuwirth as the second guest on the Brandon Peters Show.
Hey, I'm happy to be here. I'm very happy you've started your own show and you've done something that Abe and I have clearly modeled you for by including our names in the podcast.
That's right. Like, I gotta take credit for it. I'm not big or anything like that. They gotta know who's that guy. But I went with my last name, both.
Oh, I yes. I mean, that's great. Plus, I look forward to when you amass a huge following, much greater than ours. You can have parody, intros using like the Full House theme or whatnot, and having you like walk onto camera and be like, and they put the name on, you get the regular guests, and it'll just be great. It'll be fun.
It'll be good. We're gonna do that. It's gonna go. I already have fan art. Someone made a fan art of me. It's good with my logo. So I appreciate that, Mr. Ronnie Cosi. That's great. But yeah, we podcast all the time. So if people are listening that follow either of us coming together, maybe it's not special to them, but it's special to me. Damn it. So,
yeah, this is less like when the Jetsons met the Flintstones and more like when like Fonzie walked into the bar again and it's like, right. Hey,
right. So yeah, but I mean,
I'm not Fonzie, by the way. I'm not that cool. But I was shooting from the hip. That's the best one I can get.
There you go. Your playlist is still awesome. We met during the James Bond phase when I was in Mendelssohn's Memos. It kind of continues, I guess, this inadvertent narrative I have going starting the previous episode where Scott led me to the writing and stuff, which I had a bucket list. I was like, when I started writing those James Bond things, like, I'd like to do a guest thing on a podcast. And you were like, but I think it was like the second article. You're like, hey, you want to come on my show?
Yeah, I literally I reached out because I saw your articles on Scott's page, and like, I'm a huge Bond fan, among other things that I'm sure we'll get into. And so just seeing that work being done and knowing Scott already, I was thinking, well, this is a fun avenue to go down as far as I want to get someone to talk about the upcoming Bond movie. And obviously we were like 8 months away from that actually happening or whatever. So I was like, I'm going to reach out to Brandon, see what he thinks. And yeah, we just started like getting into it, and then soon enough we have like 5 commentary tracks recorded about Bond movies.
Right, it was they started like, you want to do another one? I was like, yeah.
Yeah, like we did From Russia with Love, and then we're like, well, that was fun, but we didn't cover nearly as much as we can. So it's like, let's do one from every Bond era.
And we did it, and we've still added a couple here and there, and ever since I think I was looking back, I've only not been on one commentary since that, and it was Mortal Kombat. And I think you did a couple random specials. But that
was a crossover podcast episode. That's why Abe and I joined another podcast, and we did that together. We had no room for you.
But then I sit in my head, I'm like, have I been on Out Now with Aaron and Abe more, or have you done more Colson McCavalcade episodes? I can't.
Oh.
Out Now is going to win now, But
Oh yeah, we've that, I mean, that was one of my primary goals when you guys started Colts and McCavalcade. I was like, well, now we got to definitely keep doing the commentary tracks.
keep them on there.
Can't let this nonsense go on.
And we're bringing the commentaries to the Brandon Peters show as a shared feed type thing, just to get them out to more people. Because I don't know if a lot of my listeners, they maybe see me sharing and stuff for them, but I want them to listen to them because they're just fantastic. We kind of have a core group now that goes at them, but we also have recurring people that come in as well. And I think we got a lot of quality stuff that we record once a month, and for different films, sometimes surprises, sometimes, oh yeah, well, let's get ready for this. But
just real quick, just to shout out, I will say I did enjoy coming on to Gold Cinema Cavalcade and talking with you and Cullen. I don't want to like make it seem
fun
like
show.
I really wanted to tank your guys' podcast because Cullen's
no.
listening, seething away, thinking, well, I'm going to start the Cullen Bricker show and it's going to have my guests.
No, it's going to be the not Aaron Neuwirth show. It's a fun show. I enjoyed doing it myself. Now I'm here with this. I've got bigger ideas and want to do a lot more. But yeah, we have and for people, the commentaries. It's not so much. I think it's best you don't even watch the film with it because we pinpoint things. But sometimes the only time you realize we're watching the film is when some of us get a little quiet and be like, sorry, I'm just enjoying this. And
yeah, it's when we do the best movies, it's like, oh yeah, that's right, we have to keep talking. But for the most part, we're not Kevin Smith. We're not pointing out our friends on the screen all the time. So we have more things to talk about that just don't involve scene-specific commentating.
Mm-hmm. And it's a history. It's kind of like a history of that film and people in it within the time the film plays. And sometimes a little longer after the credits.
This is a great advertisement for our commentaries on Out Now with Aaron and Dave, by the way.
So those will be a part of the feed once a month. They'll hit in here as one of the oddball things on Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Thursdays. Man, the video version of this, you guys are getting me just screwing up all the time. I get antsy around Aaron, so that's what happens. So yeah, Aaron. But the commentaries, and you had been doing Out Now when I came on and guested in 2012, but you'd been doing it for what?
A little over a year.
At that point. Yeah. It was fresher. Prior to that, like where does your history and criticism come from? Did you want to be a creative? Did you want to write a screenplay? Or because you going way back, you've been a huge Roger Ebert fan and studying like those guys from criticism. Where did your genesis come from with that?
It's never been a matter of me wanting to make my own movie. I'm not going to say I'm never going to have any ideas on purpose, but at the same time, I'm not looking at myself thinking I have the screenplay that's just dying to get out of me. That hasn't really been my thing. I appreciate others that, act differently, but like I've never been one where it's like the end goal of this is going to be my own movie. Never say never, but that's just not where my head's at with that. As far as where the film criticism came from, around mid 2000, so whenever I believe Mission Impossible 3 was maybe the first full thing I wrote on Flickster, the old website. Flickster.
I was on Flickster too. Yeah. Okay.
And so I wrote a thing there, and I was like, well, that's fun. So I was doing that for a while because Flickster was convenient. It's since been eaten up by Rotten Tomatoes, and now it really doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, all those little places started slowly becoming one.
Yeah. So that eventually morphed into my personal blog, thecodazeek.com, that I started up at pretty much the exact same time I met Brian White, the founder of Why So Blue, during Comic-Con. We were both sitting at in a Spartacus Blood and Sand panel. We were sitting next to each other, and me, I'm one that tends to just talk, and I'm sitting next to someone that clearly wants to be in the same room I'm in. So why would we not want to connect to some degree? So I'm sitting next to him. I think he was editing literally a review for Sylvester Stallone's Lockout on Blu-ray.
Wow. That's awesome.
While we were waiting for the panel to start. So he was doing work on his computer while waiting and everything. So I was sitting there, we started talking, and it amounted to, hey, give me your email and we'll go again. So eventually I emailed him, and he was like, yeah, I can bring you on. So I started writing reviews for Why So Blue. So I started out with some film reviews. I believe the first review I ever wrote was for Rob Reiner's Flipped, as well as The Kids Are All Right, which came out around the same time. And then Scott Pilgrim versus the World. That was the big one. That was big as far as, because I had lucked into getting tickets to go to the premiere for that film. And so I was like really excited because I'm a huge Scott Pilgrim fan as far as the comics and everything, Edgar Wright. So all of that stuff really kind of coalesced into in addition to all the other stuff I've been doing, this is like a big deal. I'm going to a big movie premiere. I'm going to write a review about it. And like Comic-Con was huge that year too, as far as Scott Pilgrim goes. So it was like a big Scott Pilgrim focus was going on as far as getting like putting me into a more professional world of film journalism. And then later that fall, when it was coming out on Blu-ray, I did like one of my first big interview things where I went to Hollywood and got to talk to Edgar Wright and Michael Cera, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, and Brian Lee O'Malley about the Blu-ray release, and then they had a screening of the film at the Egyptian. So it was like everything Scott Pilgrim seemed to be like working towards me,
Scott Pilgrim.
like doing like more of this stuff on a more professional level. I think my first press screening actually was Stephen Frear's Tamara Drew. That was like the first like I'm going to the Sony lot to see a movie because I was invited. So like those things all happened. So I'm writing for Why Is the Blue now. So that's what's going on there. And as that was going on, that's 2010. That next March, I've been writing reviews steadily, doing film reviews and Blu-ray reviews. At that point, my high school friend Abraham Mua, Abe, he contacted me saying, "Hey, I'm seeing you're doing all this, reviewing and stuff. Do you ever want to like talk about a movie and you see what we can do with that? Record it." At this point, Abe and I had both been listening to podcasts because that's what you do. And a lot of that, came down to I'm trying to find the right podcast I want to listen to. As far as I want to be comfortable listening to people that know at least as much as I do about film. That's not me bragging about film. It's just more of
screaming at those hosts.
I want to know that people that like movies as much as I do can confidently talk about it. So I trying to find those podcasts. I found a few, and I still listen to several. But I'm thinking, well, if these random people from whatever website or just randomly can do it, surely Abraham and I can do a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And then we recorded our first episode for Battle LA, starring Aaron Eckhart. And it's certainly that's a movie, and
films have happened since then,
and we've certainly talked about it. But it's us talking, we did the job. And then a few weeks later, we kept doing it. Our second episode, I believe, was Sucker Punch. I know Scream 4 was one of our earliest episodes, and the first time Abe and I disagreed on something because I didn't like it and Abe was wrong. And
people want those episodes though. I've never people got I think Cullen and I had a streak one time where we agreed and people were like, oh, it's boring. Sorry.
So we kept doing it. I slowly drew out the format and everything, and developed into an early version of the show. It evolved since then or what have you. I believe Kung Fu Panda 2 was the first time we had another guest on the show, Jordan Grout. Tree of Life was the first time we had like a whole panel of people on there. And so it steadily evolved into what it is, which I'm very happy with. Abe and I have been doing this weekly for 9 years now at this point.
Yeah.
So it's been even in a time like this year where there are no theatrical releases, we're still finding fun ways to do everything. And obviously we have other bonus things involved too, as far as the commentaries.
Commentary tracks. Yep.
Exactly. And so during that time, obviously I'm still writing for Why Is the Blue. I'm gaining more access as far as getting help out from Brian and others to get into more screenings, meet more studio reps so I can be on the lists and things like that. And that's going great. I didn't necessarily luck into it because I was writing, but I didn't necessarily, I didn't think in 2010, 5 years later, I'd be able to comfortably walk onto the Fox lot on a regular basis to see movies. So it's like, this is cool. I'm happy to be doing this and what have you. And, form different bonds of people as far as professional connections, what have you. And I managed to start writing for some more sites. I wrote for High Def Ninja for a spell, doing Blu-ray reviews there, just based off the work I was doing for Brian at Why Is the Blue. I found a job for a while, for a year at Rant, which was a website that was trying to be an everything site. It had different channels, like Rant Sports, Rant
kind of like
Pets.
a fan-sided.
Not necessarily fan site. It was just more of a kind of a lifestyle site where you have all these different channels. Nothing as huge as, I don't know, give it whatever. Vanity Fair, something like
There you
that.
go. All right.
But sorry, as far as like having all the different kinds of topics you can get into, and so obviously Rant Hollywood was the main one I was writing for there, and that was like a paying like office job where I got to go and I had to write like at least like 7 or 10 articles a day and everything, and it was taxing, but I was certainly like, okay, I'm getting paid to do the thing that I'm really enjoy doing and whatnot, so that was fine. And that was a year, and then the company literally fell apart. It was a startup, and it just didn't pay off and what have you. After that, briefly got to do some writing for Screen Rant. I don't have any stories because I didn't like meet any of the people beyond just through emails, but I was happy doing the stuff I was doing that didn't lean on the clickbait heavy things that I feel like they've leaned into more in the years since, which I think is a shame, but that's for them, and whatever works for them is working for them, what have you. But got to do some cool things there. I got to go to the Academy one year for a screening of Heat, where Christopher Nolan was moderating the panel. It's on the Blu-ray, actually. I'm looking behind me right now because the Heat Blu-ray is somewhere behind me. With De Niro, Pacino, and Kilmer, and all of them. They're all like there. So I was like, well, this is good. And then I wrote a piece on that. And I was like, okay, cool. That's fun. That ended. Mainly because I got the job for We Live Entertainment. That's where I met Scott Menzel, who had contacted a bunch of critics about starting a new film society. At that point, it was going to be called the Los Angeles Online Film Critics Society. It's since changed to the Hollywood Critics Association. I emailed him about that, and I managed to get into the group. And at the same time, I did not know Scott Menzel at that point, so I saw him at a screening. He's a very tall man. He has a very particular shape. So I was like, okay, I know who he is, so I can walk up to him. And we started talking, and I asked him initially about TV stuff. Failed to mention this. I do a lot of TV reviews also. I was writing for the Young Folks for a while, covering The Walking Dead and The Americans, among other shows.
I remember that. Okay, yeah.
And in addition to all the stuff going on for the past 10 years, I've been writing about The Walking Dead, mainly because I'm a huge fan of the comic. So I've been following it to the various mediums, whether it's video games or TV. So that's been another branch. And regardless of how much I like The Walking Dead as a TV show, I think it's fine. It has its ups and downs. I have been co-hosting another podcast, The Walking Dead TV podcast, since 2013. So that's been another part of my entertainment media life. So that being said, because the Young Folks, I'm getting to be 30 and I'm not really a young folk anymore, I was thinking I should mix this up as far as moving on to a different area. My lovely girlfriend Anna, she was talking to me about that too. It's like, you're not really a young folk anymore. It's like, yeah, it makes sense. So in talking to Scott, my initial thought was I could do some TV reviews for your site if you do, because I checked out the site and clearly they didn't have too much TV stuff going on. So I figured I could transfer over there. And doing that, I eventually started doing written reviews also, partly because I was getting paid to do that.
Right.
So it was like, I can do this
from
here
the
and not
studio for good reviews, right? That's how it.
Yeah, no, because Disney.
Yep.
Yeah. But no, I was like, I could do this here and not get paid, or I could do this here and get paid a little bit. It's never really about the money, but at the same time, it's like, if I'm doing all this work, I might as well have some kind of compensation for it.
It helps. It keeps you going.
I'd be doing the same thing regardless. So it's like, whatever. So I started coming on Legal Entertainment, doing TV reviews there. And then I started writing movie reviews more there. And so that's been going on for a while now. And between that and the Hollywood Critics Association, I've had a lot more access to earlier screenings, to screeners for award season, things like that, which has been very beneficial, very cool. I'm very grateful to Scott for helping me and the many other people he has in that group out with all that, because it's been a really cool opportunity stemming from again, I like writing about stuff on this random Flickster blog, so let's see where else this can go. And so that's continued to be pretty prosperous.
Thank you, Flickster.
Yeah, it's so
we're gonna pour one out after.
And so now, leading into this area, I've done a lot of reviews, all on a continual basis and everything, writing for Legal Entertainment. And in addition to that, between that and with Why So Blue, I read everything that we do because I like to just look at the sites and make sure they're going smoothly. So I started. It just the time at Rant helped a lot too, because I had editors there for a change. And that taught me a lot. And so I started kind of just picking it up every now and then and just thinking, well, since I'm in the editor, I might as well look in some of those other posts, because I know they can use some cleaning up or what have you, and started editing a little bit more. So I added some of the posts you do and what have you on Why So Blue and the things on We Have Entertainment, which, Scott's been very happy with as far as his reviews and some of the other reviews out there. And so just fairly recently he decided, well, hey, what if I promoted you up to have an official title as being the senior editor of their website? So that's where that came from, which I'm very happy with. As far as, once again, there's a compensation aspect, which is cool based off of I'd be doing this anyway, and it's a neat tool to be utilizing as far as I'm an editor now, and that's a skill that's another skill I'm increasing. Like I enjoy the writing process, which is why I like doing it. Beyond just I get to watch movies, I do like writing, and so you evolve over time. So I know the writers I like that are a lot better than I am, but I feel like I'm doing a pretty good job at it. It seems to show. And so, having the editing tool in my back pocket as well, that's fun also. That's a fun, addition to kind of work on as well, as far as what I can do to enhance that ability. At around that same time, to wrap this all up, I was recommended to Variety, who were seeking freelancers to kind of do some work in their artisan section, which focuses on the kind of the below the line filmmakers, people like cinematographers and production design artists and what have you. So that's where I was given that chance to start writing for Variety, which is what I've done in the past couple of months. So now I'm, contributing there and doing the full-time work at for not full-time, but the editing work for Wii Entertainment. So it's worked out fairly nicely as far as that's concerned, plus doing the podcast and all that.
So. You're very deserving. It's been nice to watch you rise. It's like you feel like you need to break into the Mendelsohn territory at some point. Jeez. The lucky guy.
I mean, we can't all be Scott Mendelsohn. We can't all get, a major director to attack us on Twitter and seek us followers after us. I mean, that's, some of us are comfortable in our current station's lives.
A major director whom you praise more than most people do. Oh, yeah. So yeah, it's been great. I like that through it all, the Out Now continues. Like it's tough to run a podcast, and it's tough to run podcasts with two people, especially when you guys live in completely different cities. And
yeah, Abe and I haven't seen Abe in 2 years at this point. But the thing is, I mean, and I think you know this, as long as it's fun, there's no reason to stop doing it. Right. Like, that's the whole point of it. I mean, sure, you can have like minor inner arguments or what have you, but it's like, if we both enjoy doing this on a weekly basis for the years we've been doing it, and there's no specific reason why we should stop doing it, it can keep going. And I mean, I'm very happy with the way we've evolved the show to particular formats and how we've adapted to this year specifically, and it's not stopped being a fun thing to do. So that's a huge part of why to keep doing this. I mean, we're going to talk about movies anyway,
right?
Might as well put it on iTunes or what have you to force people to listen.
Exactly. And it's created what I love to call the Out Now universe.
Yeah,
a network of people.
It's very cool to have a recurring stable of guests and various new guests on occasion, and kind of incorporate them into this kind of bubble of people that all kind of know each other basically just through this. Like, even if you've never met people like our friend Maxwell Haddad in real life or what have you, it's fun that we're Jim Dietz. It's fun that we are all connected in this weird way, and that like Abe and I are responsible for that, specifically because it's in addition to being people that are big film fans, it's a very diverse group of people, which I'm very happy with as well.
Yeah, it's excellent. It's been great. Speaking of one of the early times in Out Now with Aaron and Abe, I was either listening to the show or I was on it in my early times with it. Awareness of it. You mentioned, and it blew my mind, like just jaw drop moment, that your favorite film of all time, or one of your favorite films of all time, is Grosse Pointe Blank, which we're talking about today. And I was like, oh, me too. And I'd never met people who liked it, but never held it to as high regard as you and I do with it. And so, and I was like, it's Grosse Pointe Blank is hitting one of those milestones this year. Let's do a commentary. And you're like, no. So I started Cult Cinema Cavalcade. I got 5 years podcasting, a showdown under my belt, and then started this show just so I could get you talk Grosse Pointe Blank on a podcast. But so that's where we're coming with here. And So like, Scott had a weird favorite, but this is like an actual favorite, and both you and I, and
Yes,
I want to talk about it.
Shanghai Nights pales in comparison to
Right.
1997 modest box office hit Grosse
Right.
Pointe Blank.
You're right. So this one, Grosse Pointe Blank, 1997, directed by George Armitage, who 70s exploitation and disappears for about 11 years, does Miami Blues, and then this 7 years later. So,
And then the big bounce, and then that's it.
And that's it. It's the only screenplay or like film or TV credit from Tom Jankiewicz, but Steve Pink, DC DeVincentis, and obviously John Cusack touched this. It feels like it could have just been written by John Cusack by himself. And, of course, stars John Cusack, Minnie Driver, Dan Aykroyd, Alan Arkin, Hank Azaria, K. Todd Freeman, Mitch Ryan, Jeremy Piven, Joan Cusack, Michael Cudlitz, and Jenna Elfman. They did not realize how much gold they had in that cast at the time. But it's a stacked cast. My earliest memories, I saw this on VHS. I didn't see it in the theater. It came out during, I remember... this and Private Parts had big pushes during the run of the Star Wars Special Edition films, especially during Return of the Jedi Special Edition. They were both heavily. I kept seeing the trailers every time I went. I go see Star Wars a bunch, but I didn't branch out at the time, and I didn't have a car.
Release. This was an April release, correct?
It was an April release. I think Jedi was March.
Yeah, January, February, March, and then,
yeah. And both those movies were being pushed, and I didn't have a car at the time, and I just kind of went by and then rented it when it came. Or no, my parents rented it like the weekend it came out, and I just saw it sitting on the stack. I'm like, don't take that back yet. I want to see it. Fell in love with the movie. I had the poster in my room till I think I maybe gone to college with me. I'm not sure, but I had that damn poster.
It's around here somewhere.
Yeah, I had the coming to VHS posters, the one I had. What was your experience with Grosse Pointe Blank? Where did you come with this one?
Real quick, because I don't want to forget this. As far as like it being my favorite movie, offhand, it's one I rattle around, but I do. It just sits up there in that top 5. Being your favorite, and among other people's like movies that they really like or what have you. There was one time on Rotten Tomatoes where they do that like favorite 5 movies with filmmakers or people. Mm-hmm. Neil Gaiman came on and he listed Grosse Pointe Blank of things, and his explanation was literally, "Isn't it fun to just have a movie that people may not have heard of, but like it just seems like a cool option?" That's why I'm picking Grosse Pointe Blank. It's like, okay, thanks Neil Gaiman, who I really big a fan of.
It's awesome.
I don't think I saw this movie until a year after it was released. I mean, so the VHS probably came out, like 6 months later, was normal at the time.
Somewhere in there, probably in the fall.
If not more. So I don't think I saw this until 1998.
Okay.
But weirdly, and I guess we'll probably talk about this, but it came out like, you get those like double years where you have movies that come out that are similar in some, Volcano, Dante's Peak, that kind of thing.
Right.
This was the year of high school reunions, because you had Romeo and Michelle's high school reunion right around it.
Like the same, like 2 weeks.
It's like
later,
2 weeks apart of it. Yeah, it wasn't far.
Both class of 80-something reunions. Yeah.
Yeah. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe Anaconda might have come out the same week as this movie did.
Yeah.
Which I did see in theaters with my mother. So like I didn't actively not choose to see Grosse Pointe Blank. I just don't think I saw the preview for it. Or if I did, I just don't remember it. But I stumbled across it a year later, in the rental era, where we could like walk around and be like, hey, there's a movie on a shelf. There's a poster. I don't know what this is. Let me read the box. This sounds interesting. Let me rent it.
It's new. Cool.
Yeah. So that process happened. Watched the movie, and I'm younger, and I have a VHS copy of something I've rented, so that means I've probably watched it multiple times, because I'm like, it's here, might as well keep watching this thing. So I've probably watched the movie a bunch of times before I had to take it back, and I was just like into it, which is so weird, because I'm not like I was born in the 80s, so it's not like I was a child of the 80s that could reflect on these nostalgic times or something like that.
Right.
It was this mix of like adolescence. Hey, Hitman, that's cool. There's a soundtrack that's pretty poppin'. That's great. John Cusack has this attitude that I'm into. He's dressed kind of cool. Dan Aykroyd, like all these weird elements. Apu, like just like all these things are like coalescing into this like fun, like Hitman romp that has some interesting themes going on, where I'm at a time where my mind's kind of shaping around like, it is neat to see movies in a different way than just what's on screen. All of that just worked together to make me think, I really like this a lot, and I'm going to keep watching this whenever I get the chance to. That keeps going over time. The DVD comes out, I get the DVD. The Blu-ray comes out, I review the Blu-ray. Reluctantly, because it's hard to write about your favorite movies and be like, what else?
No, it is hard, and I thought it was gonna be hard going to this, but I was just like, I can finally put to audio form my thoughts on it that I've had for so long as well. And this movie taught me a lot of things. Like, you mentioned the music. The soundtrack is outstanding, and it showed me a different side of popular 80s music that I wasn't used to.
It's a lot of alternative rock.
A lot of like stuff that came out of like punk from the early 80s. It's stuff that started becoming more poppy from it. And
you get the Violent Femmes, you get the Specials.
Right. And
it's just good stuff.
The Clash,
of course.
Oh man, there's so much stuff. But
you got to pick some Pixies in there. Like, it has everything working for it.
It got 2 volumes. It's that good of a soundtrack.
Yeah.
It got 2 volumes, and I had multiple copies. Like, I wound up losing my CD once, and I got it again, and then I found the other one, so I had 2 copies of it. And this thing still is in rotation. Like, I still listen to this. It's become to a point where I associate these songs with this movie when I hear them.
Yeah.
Not because of the movie. Like, they fit the movie so well. There's like little weird one-liners and stuff. There's like towards the end when Debbie finds him in the hall after he kills the hitman,
and the 99 Left of Them starts.
99 Left of Them, an anti-war protest song plays. Like, that's just just brilliance there, and it goes with the 80s dance. And
before then is that mirror in the bathroom drop, which is juxtaposed with the dancing on the floor for the reunion, and John Cusack beating the hell out of the kickboxer who trained him.
Yes.
What's his name? It's like Urquidez or something like that. But like,
I love my favorite. I know him. He's an asshole. I love that line. The way there's a weird, because I read that they did this movie with like 3 different. There could be 3 different versions of the movie. There's like a straight scripted movie, a little mildly understated version, and then an over the top. And I guess they mostly went with the over the top stuff. But there's a sense of normalcy to this movie that's just off the charts. Like, it feels natural. This feels like people, real people having just real interactions and stuff. It's crazy to think that all of it's over the top, but it works.
It's a big part of what I think that appeal is, where if you have a hitman comes back for his high school reunion, that's a high concept, and it's kind of zany. But the way Cusack approaches the role, and I think he's pretty excellent here.
This is his best. This is my pick for his best. Like,
I mean, by default, just because it's my favorite
movie.
Like, it's why wouldn't? Right. But like the way he kind of rolls into town and just, it's not like he's not hiding anything really beyond like showing off this kind of paranoid side to him. He's not.
Right.
He's not, he's not telling people outright that this is what he does, but he's not hiding it either. Like, he does say it literally to people, and they just don't believe him. But he kind of tosses it out there as like, I'm a contract killer. Like, it just kind of rolls out, and you just, that tone, it's really well handled. It's really well balanced, because it is occasionally very funny, whether it's because of Jeremy Piven outbursts or some over the top physical stuff. But there's still this kind of sly sense of, it's less about the fact that I do this crazy thing and more about I'm just an oddball that's come back into the world here. And I'm going to present that, as awkwardly as I need to, but I still want to like get across, like, I have a mission here. I want to meet my former girlfriend again. I want to see my mother. I want to see where I grew up. I want to, as the movie goes, he has this kind of epiphany that I know is in the script, but is unseen in the movie. He just kind of describes it later on, where he has an epiphany as far as what he's doing just doesn't work for him anymore.
Well, and he has a realization that, everybody's effed up, not just me. Like, because they do a good job of showing how normal he comes across to us compared to the other people he's running into, and how together he's actually got something, because he's very fine with how he does things, and very business, but he's got a maturity and a level that's way different than anybody.
He's the only one that left town, right? Everyone else stayed in Grosse Pointe.
That's true.
That's the thing. And that crystallizes during the reunion when he's staring at the baby, and Under Pressure's playing on the screen.
That's a great moment. That's one of the best uses of that song. And that he's like, you know what? It's a huge moment. That baby staring, and the people in the streets. Yeah. Oh,
Like everything that's going on in his head as far as him being there, it just arrives at that moment. He's like, okay, I get it now. I don't want to do this. This is done. This is not my thing anymore. Like that's what he's dealing with throughout this movie. And it's like that stuff that's, even if it's not outright said, it's layered in throughout. You're watching this happen. You're seeing this performance, and you have like, these fun characters you're interacting with, whether it's Dan Aykroyd as, rival hitman, or Tay Freeman and Hank Azaria as the other NSA agents, right?
Yeah, they're government
Homeland
people
Security,
hired.
whatever they are. The other, various friends, Jeremy Piven, what have you, and then of course Minnie Driver, who's the biggest part of that puzzle,
right?
And like she has a very specific kind of attitude as well because he left her,
right?
So she's less detached than everyone else from whatever he's been up to because she's very curious as to what it is that caused the person that that she loved to go away from her on that night.
Yeah, she's curious and reserved. Like it's a good handling.
So you have all these things going on, and like there's a way to make that feel sitcom-y, but it doesn't. It feels like it registers on a better level.
Well, I mean, we can look hindsight now, but this was doing John Wick before John Wick. There's like this huge underworld of hitmen with different personalities, a code, and Dan Aykroyd's hitman is a rival guy, but he's wanting to form a union.
He wants to unionize.
And they have discussions about that. There's like when they meet in a diner, whenever they meet up, there's a certain thing both of them are doing.
They both worried that they're going to kill one another.
Right. Yes. Just the way, and they're I mean, I could sit and watch those two have exchanges for days. It's really
they're very enjoyable. Yeah.
It's one of Aykroyd's best as well, too, especially post late '80s. This is definitely some of his best.
It combines what he can do well, where he can be this fast-talking huckster type of character, as well as have this kind of sinister edge to him. And I'm sorry, Nothing But Trouble, but this is the better version of that.
Right, and he has no problem being the butt of a joke. There's the great bathroom scene where Martin Blank Rose, and I always use this whenever I see someone in the bathroom. I always go, "Oh hi!" Like if I know them, I just from that movie. Nobody else probably knows what I'm doing, but I always go to that. And then the guys when they're looking out into the hall, they're like, "Oh, he's coming back!" And Aykroyd goes in. He's like, "Oh, damn it, you guys!" This is fine. I'm like, that's great. Like he has no.
It's that silent exchange too when Hank Azaria goes, "He's coming back."
Like it's hilarious. I mean, everybody in it isn't over the top like hilarious, but they are killing it in the comedy field. Like Minnie Driver's got funny stuff. That Hank Azaria. I mean, everybody's
very funny in this movie. Like he does his job.
I mean, even Mitch Ryan is just subtly hilarious.
Mitch Ryan gets some great dry lines.
Yeah.
What is it? I'm a contract killer. Oh, growth industry.
You have my blessing. Yeah, he's hilarious too. It's just killing it on all levels. And I mean, there's even cool, like the action.
I was going to say, this is a very cool movie. That's the other thing I think I really responded to.
Cool.
It has a, comedic tone, but it's fitting in that post-Pulp Fiction era of, we're doing crime stuff, but we can make it cool to watch as well as kind of humorous. And I think this one, I mean, it's not trying to do the same things that Pulp Fiction does, but it's certainly exploring that kind of area as far as.
I mean, it's better. They shoot Pulp Fiction in this.
They take it on.
They take it on.
But no, it is a very Armitage. I think does some really cool stuff with the action sequence, and even just with the assassination stuff. I mean, early on you have the opening hit that goes wrong, but is like it's more wacky. But the second one in Miami, which is a whole you only live twice.
You only live twice. Yeah.
Which I didn't realize till years later, obviously.
Right.
Because I like Bond, but I was like, I can't specifically place these two things, and I'm like, oh, I see what we're doing.
It's a high tech version of it. Yeah.
But it's a very cool. Like the score is really cool and everything. It's shot like probably the most thriller like throughout this movie as far as what he's trying to do and like what ends up happening.
And the way Cusack moves down the stairwell is like that's how I feel like I would be moving down, like, because he's not clean, he's not slick, he's not being quiet and fast, he's hauling butt down there and just burrowing through there. So he's kind of got he's got a slim figure, he's kind of got a bully brutish side to him, which is the Bond like thing.
Well, I mean that shows in all of the violence he puts out there, right? I mean there's that, there's obviously the kickboxing fight, which is another stunning sequence as far as action goes, and even later on when you're more in Driver's perspective, watching him do the thing he does as he's killing all of Grosser's men, Dan Aykroyd's men, and he not only like shoots an assassin multiple times, he takes a frying pan and knocks him over the head with it. It's like this guy he knows how to be brutal when he has to. And it's a
mode, like he is.
Yeah, like I don't have many like issues with this movie. I can pick it apart if I really wanted to, but why I really enjoy this movie. But like I would like to see more of like that edge kind of climb through to see it become more of a dark comedy. I do think there's
Yeah.
more areas to explore there, which is
Yeah.
what I guess we could have presumably got in the unofficial sequel War Inc. But that it's not great.
No. I do want to point out, you mentioned the opening. I think just so visually awesome, clearly establishing everything this movie's going to be within like a minute, where you have Martin Blank being the sniper from above, you know, his little prison, he's doing his contact solution stuff. He completes his task, and then here comes Dan Aykroyd sloppily coming in, just finishing off the job he was supposed to prevent. And you clearly establish these two. You clearly establish how they do things, the stakes, and what the headbutting is going to be, while Joan Cusack's on the phone telling him about his 10-year reunion. Like, that's the whole movie right there. And it's just like, I think maybe this time around, or maybe a couple times ago, I just like realized, like, man, this is just a brilliant setup right from the bat. And the song,
yeah.
and the song,
I can see clearly
you can see clearly now. Just what an open, like.
Yeah, I mean, and you establish all those main players right up front. You get you have him and Cusack, you have him and Aykroyd, and you have him and Alan Arkin doing a day of work to make the 3 scenes that he has works really well. So.
Which that was, I think, back in the 90s, that was it's less to me now, the psychiatrist scene, which psychiatrists were a big 90s thing with movies. That was like a big point of this movie when it came out, and now I'm like, I watch those scenes and I'm like, okay, they're still funny. But those would get like, I mean, you'd see Analyze This follow this movie, and The Sopranos,
Sopranos and Analyze This is where it peaks as far as like, see, they're like us, they need help too.
Right, and I think it starts kind of here, and then kind of comes off of that with the hitman, or dark character.
They make the subtext more text, as far as it's not just Vince and Jules going over the existential existence that they exist in. I didn't mean to say it that way, but that's how it came out. But now it becomes, well, now it's just actually sit them on the couch and have them really delve into their feelings.
Right. Yeah, that's true. But the action sequences, you get the one where his home used to be at the gas station, which is a huge massive explosion there.
The best, when they first introduced that convenience store, and you have Guns N' Roses, Live and Let Die, another Bond reference,
right?
The best is when he walks into the store and the Muzak version of the song starts playing. Like, that's just like a fun little touch,
which is almost, it's funny, it's almost Bond like, because in a Bond movie, like, let's say he goes in, especially in the Connery area, and if he goes to like China or something, they put a more local flavor on the Bond theme, and it kind of reminds me of that, like changing to fit the environment. And they also have a Doom 2 arcade machine, which never existed.
Just for that.
Never existed. I knew that when I saw the movie. I'm like, wait, that is not.
I want to know who has that prop. It's probably worth a fortune.
Right. Hope they didn't. Yeah. Blow it up. And the guy who works there is hilarious too. He's like a little.
Not Steve Zahn.
That's perfect. That's Steve Zahn. Oh my gosh. He's like, how you doing? He's like, oh, I'm not good. I have to go find another job. Man. Like,
it literally seems like a guy who it seems like Batman Forever, when they wanted Wayne Knight and they couldn't get Wayne Knight. So it's like, I guess we'll get this guy instead. It feels like they wanted Steve Zahn. It's like, he's busy. All right. What do we got? Where's a blonde surfer guy that would convincingly work in Detroit or Grosse Pointe, Michigan, to play this role?
It's just funny. Where are we at? Now there's a
that helps. I jump back, but that action sequence in the convenience store, yes, it's a cool action scene, and it's got. I mean, again, it's set in the convenience store. It's zany, but it's still like, I mean, there's two guys hurling bullets at each other, but you got like you have was La Poubelle, that's his name. You have him setting up a potato bomb or a C4 bomb in the microwave. You have John Cusack sliding on his knees with 2 guns in his hands. Like, it's like there's some cool stuff in this.
It's surprising. I'm like, man, Armitage is showing us like he could put a great action scene anywhere. Like, I'm surprised he doesn't work much, because I mean, there's like that. The finale is outstanding. Like, it is perfect. They mess around a lot with like kind of video game stuff, reminding me of like that. Remember, I think it was is it Time Crisis or Virtua Cop, where you had the pedal at the arcade?
Yeah.
And you like go down to reload and look up, and you'd see guys coming at you, and that's what it looked like when you see the yard shots of Dan Aykroyd running up, and just a lot of good edits and geography. Just
I
where
mean,
everything's going on.
even before that, you have the sequence, the reunion fight with Puel
Right.
again, where it's just martial arts,
Mhm.
and that's so. Every time I watch that, I mean, that's probably the most thrilling element of the movie because it's real like down to the bone. Like these guys, one of these guys is going to kill each other, and they're only going to use each other's hands or what
Right.
have you. They're not using guns at that point, and it's
Thanks
and,
for the pen.
yeah, exactly. I had to tie this back in too. I forgot about to mention this. I mean, obviously, we mentioned War Inc. already as a kind of spiritual sequel,
Mhm.
which I believe because they have a draft for 2. They wrote one, but
It was for a long time. He wanted to do something to follow this up, and
yeah, but like Disney leadership fell apart and whatnot, so like that didn't happen. But like that's basically what a lot of the elements of War Inc. are coming from that draft is what I believe he's confirmed that. I'm not just making that up. But before that, unofficially, it's even more unofficially, it's really fun to think of this as a sequel to Say Anything. I mean, that's the other thing.
I was thinking about this. This is like his, how Eastwood does Gran Torino is like, it's not Dirty Harry, it's not his Western characters, but
might as well
be the retirement of them. This is kind of like his 80s, Better Off Dead, 16 Candles, Say Anything characters. What happened to them after? And yeah, no, I've had that same thought.
Specifically Lloyd Dobler, because the guy, the guy was
kickboxer. Yeah,
that guy was a kickboxer. He had a very eccentric personality that kind of matches what he's doing here. I mean, John Cusack.
His cassette tape was this soundtrack. Yeah,
it's weird. It's weird that John Cusack is more rangy now, even if the movies aren't or the performances aren't that great. But like then he has a pretty particular type that he's playing up until what, like 2000s, even like Identity. I don't know. Like before that, he's playing the John Cusack role, right?
Right.
So you get to this one, and you're looking at it, like, yeah, if things were different, if you change the way.
Well, I read that speaking of, like, I can't imagine anyone other than Cusack just feels like his movie, even though it came from someone else's script. But like, apparently Kiefer Sutherland had interest, and I'm like, you don't get the same movie with that at all. Like, this is
because he's not inherently funny. That's the thing. Like, there's not a humor there. I'm not saying Cusack's a big stand-up, but like you can read the dry expressions off his face and find that to be humorous. Kiefer, you just think he wants to punch you if you're acting.
And he was in the 90s. He was in weird roles and evil, like more evil. Like 24 was a real refresher for him.
A hero,
and this would just not. It wouldn't be the same movie. And there's no way you could pull off the comedy well.
Yeah, tapping into that, the kickboxing thing and what have you, and even like the guy he fights is the guy that actually trained him to be a kickboxer. Who's in it? I just watched a Jackie Chan movie, Wheels on Meals. That guy, I think his quote's name is like Jet. Like it's Ben Jet something or other.
Yeah.
This is a professional show. We should have this. Where's your intern?
Sorry.
But like he's in that, Jackie Chan beats the hell out of him in that movie. Regardless, it's getting back to that fight, it's a really intense fight and it looks great, and you have Mir in the bathroom playing in the background, and you have the pen moment and everything, and it's really brutal, and you see like the camera's locked in on his face as he's doing it. It's really close up and intense. So you get another sense of, look how brutal this is. Look at the life that he's really not into. This is after the baby moment too. Like he's done that already. So he's already, the disgust that he has there is like, I really don't want to be doing this now. And you're forcing my hand in the middle of this whole thing. And then,
I think his thought is like, okay, this one, kill him. And tomorrow we start anew, we leave. And then he gets caught. And then it just throws everything out the window. And I think he's like, all right, this is it. This is the final one.
So you got like, you wanted me to talk about this movie. Now I just think about like unique bits in this thing. Like there's a shot.
Would you want to go over like some of the side characters? That'd be.
Oh, we will. We'll get there. I just want to mention real quick the shot, because you talk about George Armitage and how well he is at directing action. Like the shot where it's a wide shot and Cusack like does a straight kick to him and it just knocks him against the locker room. It's like, where is that in movies now? Like I don't see that. You see the the lead up to it. You don't see the impact nearly as much in these things. Thank God for John Wick and other movies that are bringing The Raid, among other things that are bringing these things back. But it's
it hurt.
It's so like that pain registers. I remember that. I can't remember the exact beats of the CG battles that I see on screen or what have you. I'm not against them, but it's like I'm talking about my favorite movie of all time based off single shots versus movies I'm very entertained by that.
Well, we got away from showing everything. I think it became a little easier, cheaper, less set up to shake the camera and make the audience simulate feeling it rather, and people got tired of that a lot quicker than just having some nice choreography and having to do a take where a guy jump kicks a guy in the chest like 8 times before you get it. I mean,
like to jump out of that real quick to go to like John Wick. There's a shot in the first one where he sees Alfie Allen and like this is the guy he wants to kill, and he's already has a guy like in a lock, and he sees him locking eyes, so he looks at him and nails the guy just to show this is what I'm going to do to you.
Yeah.
And so like that's the impact. That's the impact that I want to see more in these kind of movies.
Here we go. Yeah, exactly. I mean,
not because I champion violence, of course, just because I find it entertaining at a cinematic level.
That's why Return this is like refreshing after what we I think we're getting better. Action's on a good turn right now.
Oh, for sure. The action genre in general is doing some good things.
We went through an ugly phase there from like the mid to late 00s through.
Well, everybody wanted to be Greengrass.
So. Right. Yeah, they wanted to be, and he does what he does well, but not everybody
that's the
can
difference.
do it.
Yeah.
Not everybody can do it. His stuff's great. I mean, even Jason Bourne, the fifth one, I want to say fourth, but we can't forget the chems. But even that, I mean, as much as it's just kind of ho hum, it's still light years better than the people trying to imitate him a lot of the time. But
talking, I mean, I want to get to the site because there's a lot of characters. I want to just talk more about you want to know why this is my favorite movie. I mean, it just works. Like, that's the thing.
I think it's perfect. I really do. I wouldn't change a thing. I think
it's not rooted in nostalgia. It's like, I mean, you could say it's rooted in nostalgia to some degree, but it's not like I haven't evolved as far as my movie taste go. There are movies that I used to really enjoy that I think are, not great now, or just like I can casually watch them or don't even want to watch them because like I know that the flaws are there and I'm just not going to enjoy it nearly as much. This one holds to me. This will, like, nothing about, like, if anything, it's only increased in my enjoyment of it over time, just because I can recognize a lot of the themes now more than because I'm older than I was, and see like a person that's gone, like I've gone to my 10-year high school reunion at this point or whatever.
So it's this movie made me like, oh, I wonder what that's gonna be like. And then when my 10th came up, and I was like, I'm okay.
So it's
sorry, Grosse Pointe Blank, Brandon 1997 Grosse Pointe Blank watcher, I failed you.
So it's like, yeah, I mean, so there's the thing. So yes, I watched it as it's gone on. The thing I do now with this movie, the reason I didn't have to prepare for this podcast to watch is because I watch it every year on my birthday. It is the one movie that I definitely watch every single year, specifically on my birthday, or at least around it in some capacity. Generally on the day though, and I've seen it enough where I can if I'm busy, I can have it on and not really sink right into it. That's rarely happened. So yeah, it's become this thing of like, I'm just going to enjoy watching this because it's the movie that I watch. I know when I'm going to watch it. I don't have to be like,
it gives you everything. It really does. I mean, comedy, action, drama, like just a little bit of philosophy stuff. I mean, it's there. I mean, some horror. I mean, his blood, they pale up Cusack when he kills the guy with the pen. Yeah. Quite a bit. Just horror.
Gives him a cold sweat.
Yeah. It's everything.
It has it all. It's entertaining. It's not, it's pretty breezy. It's only 100 and something minutes. Like, it's not, super long, and it flies by. I mean, but yeah, it's at the point where my lovely girlfriend, she threw me a birthday party themed around Grosse Pointe Blank a couple years ago.
Okay.
We, like, dressed up as the character. We have a shot of us like the movie poster. We watched the movie. We had a 80s soundtrack on shuffle, that specifically fits the vibe of that movie, had food and everything. So it was super cool that you threw that. So it's like I've had everything I can as far as Grosse Pointe Blank goes.
Do you get into character and like sit away from windows, turn the blinds, kind of like what, change microphones from recording? I
mean, the truth's out there, Brandon, to quote the X-Files, obviously. So I'm always doing that regardless. I mean, that's just something that makes sense to be doing.
Oh my gosh. Oh, I forgot. We've been talking about other movies that remind us. He was hiding his stuff in vents in the hotel, just like it reminded me of No Country for Old Men. I was like, oh, okay, that was here before.
That's just one of those tricks of the trade that they study up for. Yeah, I'm sure Eddie Bunker taught them that or something.
True. Those big old vents in the hotels. But we have a roster of side characters that really help fill out, and I think they help make this as well. And they don't overdo or abuse any of them or have any of them go like way over the top. But, Piven, obviously, which they're real high school friends, John Cusack and Jeremy Piven. And he is he's a realtor. And
it's surprising he's not in High Fidelity, honestly, like among the people that didn't like keep
maybe
like,
it just didn't work out.
Yeah, he might have just been busy. I mean, but that core, because he's in Serendipity.
Yeah, they got back for that.
Yeah. Which I think is the last one as far as like Cusack. Well, no, I guess Hot Tub Time Machine's the last one as far as Cusack and Steve Pink go.
Yeah,
But
there was
as far as that crew where it says the team that brought you Grosse Pointe Blank, there's high fidelity and there's serendipity.
Yeah. He and he just like, he doesn't let him know. He finds him out in town. Like there's this little town square. It's a small town, so I guess you could find people walking around, and he takes him around. And I love, one of my favorite parts is when he drives up to Debbie's house, Cusack's old flame, and he's like, Debbie's house. He's like, snuck up on you, did kind of crept up on you, did? He's like, you drove us. And I always crack up on that.
His reaction is, "Yep, I did," and then they drive off.
Yep, I did. And him at the dance, like coked up and trying to go after Jenny. Was it Jenny Slater?
Jenny Slater, yeah.
Hey, Jenny Slater. Hey. Oh gosh, but then he helps. Like he's all fun and games with Martin, letting him go, and then when the shit goes down, he is sobered, changed.
He's right into
like,
it. Yeah.
What?
He's even concerned for Debbie when she's coming down crying. She's like, "Where's our boy? What's happened? Like, what's going on? Did he hurt you?" Like, he has this like concern in him. So it's like he's the friend of this like group here. Like, he's a true friend.
And I forgot to check this time when I watched it, but I saw a thing where the people, every person he actually tells that he's a killer to discovers he is in the movie, and people he doesn't, they don't find out. But every like Debbie, Piven, Debbie's dad, and they all find out, and those are the only people. But maybe he tells that teacher that he meets at the beginning.
No, I mean,
or
does he have a line?
Or no, he's going to, and she says his tie looks nice before he can do it.
Yeah,
and then he's like, "I'm gonna go visit home." He's like, "I was gonna go visit my home. Are you?" Or something like that. Which that's a pretty fun scene. I like that scene with him and the teacher. She's a side character that maybe goes overlooked.
You get a lot of just great backstory and exposition just through the kind of montage you get there with like that. When obviously when he goes to his mom, but that's direct dialogue. But when he goes to visit his dad at his gravesite, he just pours a bottle on it. Everything you need to know right there.
Right. Yeah. It's great. At the dance, the reunion, we get like
it's a dance.
Yeah, it's a dance. We get like Jenna Elfman in a like Joan Cusack 16 Candles tribute with her.
Yeah.
She's really fun. This, I guess, is the screen debut of Jenna Elfman. Mm-hmm. And then her and Mitch Ryan would get Dharma and Greg really short after this.
Yeah, I'm sure they bonded on set, and they're like, "I have this idea for a sitcom."
Like, wait, I'm reading for this too, or
you're Greg?
This ain't gonna work. Yeah, him and his Thorn cult abilities. But Michael Cudlitz kills. He is amazing, and he still looks this age. So
yeah, Michael Cudlitz is doing well for himself.
There is. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I was gonna say for Walking Dead, he had to be in shape or whatnot.
Right.
But I mean, yeah, like this is key Cudlitz character actor time here with this and like the Negotiator the next year and things like that. Like he's all over the place. But yeah, here he's a force. He comes in, Bobby Beamer, more coked up than Jeremy Piven,
and just wait, like he's not gonna remember the night, and who he was in high school and still is.
Oh yeah.
And the thing is, like, as somebody who got
But gets that dramatic point, right? He gets that. Okay, you're getting there. Yeah.
So this like was inspiring to me when I watched it as a kid. I was a kid who got bullied a bit in high school. I got made fun of. I made
because
movies.
Of your beard.
Yeah, my beard in high school. I made movies. I did weird things that like other kids weren't. It was like sports. You use your you use your camcorder to make movies. How weird. Oh, and you're in drama. And there, be these. He's a stereotype and he fits it, but I'm like, wow. And then John Cusack gives this, they meet in the hall alone, and he's like trying to pick a fight with him. And John Cusack gives like the most amazing speech where he's like, do you think there's an us? Like there is no, he's like, you and me, whatever you think, you and me, we don't exist. And that was just like, I'm like, that makes sense. That's what the problem is with these people. There is no conflict and these people just want it. And he does that. And then Cudlitz cowers down. He's like, you want to do some blow? He's like, no. He brings out the poem.
Pulls out a poem that he's written. That's in it. That's readily accessible.
And he's like, he's like, skip a few to the end. It's like, for a while. Wait.
For a while.
He's like, that's good. That's good what you got there. And then
I wouldn't sell the dealership, but
it's almost like it reverses and Cusack gets to be the bully finally. to him. Like he's now in the driver's seat of, you and your stupid stuff. But
I mean, I would call him the bully. I'd just be
not
more
the
like,
bully, but he's now in control. He's
in control, yes, and he's
where
also
in high
like,
school he probably wasn't.
It's yes, and it's also I have no time for whatever this is that you're going through. I have my own things to deal with, so let's wrap this up.
True. And then they later show him on the dance floor just going like nuts. And I think he falls down. It's just perfect timing.
But he's not fighting anybody, so good on him.
Yeah.
And Debbie sees the whole thing, and she's like, okay, yeah, he's probably not killing people on the side, so I can probably do this.
Then we got the guy with the wrestlers. That's pretty funny. Like what? Okay.
Oh, that's one of the screenwriters, right? That's either it's not Pink.
It's not Pink. No.
David Sentis. David
Sentis. Yeah. That's an interesting little bit.
Or no. It's not. Or is it him? No, I know one of them is the security guy. He's one of the screenwriters.
That's Pink. That's Pink.
Guy. Okay.
That's right. He gets two scenes. Yeah. He gets one at the house where it bothers the people at Piven's showing, and then he brings the gun to the reunion. But yeah, the reunion is full of characters. The Tracy, which is the normal, the one that's sort of there. Like you could tell they had a special kind of relationship when he was in high school, and then seeing that she's done well and all the stuff he fears isn't so bad that she confirms. Like it's one of the few times in a movie that like someone's like a little bit honest about parenting, or like stuff doesn't have to go away. You know, like they say you can't do anything, and it's like it is really not true unless you let it get to you like that. And like I have my spouse, whatever, like with all these like kind of worries and stuff about myself, like said kind of the same thing to me with like it doesn't have to change, and it really hasn't. It does, but it doesn't keep you from doing anything. But it's a really nice moment with Under Pressure. Sucker right there. Got Under Pressure playing.
This has been Peter's parenting.
Right. Getting deep, man. I feel
it's a good
blue,
segment on the show.
When I feel blue. No, but no, this movie means a lot to me as it does you, and I get a lot from it. And it spoke to me at such a young age about like prophetic things in the future, which a lot of them hold true. And it was like, I really want to, I'm going to be really interested where I'm at when these things hit me.
Technically you're older than these people though.
I am now older than these people. I have this year was my 20 year anniversary of graduating high school. So I'm double.
Did you go? Did you bring the poem?
No, it's delayed till next year.
Oh yeah, that's right. Of course, it's
we're in the pandemic. So
you didn't do a virtual thing with 100 people on one screen?
Pass. But yeah, and then outside of that, you have Joan Cusack, who's really great. All over, like I feel like he just said, just
that's
go,
just comedy
do your
gold.
Thing.
Yeah,
just go with your thing. And I love her tone on the phone. I like how with him, she's always like reserved, hesitant, but she will take it out on anybody else. And there's little cute moments where he goes in his office that's clearly she could talk to him through there, and she has to wait, and he treats her well too. He leaves her.
Well, there's also that like undercurrent, the same with Alan Arkin, where it's this guy could kill me, so like I don't know how I'm supposed to proceed, and then she has that going a little bit as far. Like even when he at the end when he says, you know, I'll come and clear you out or whatever, she thinks, does that mean you're going to kill me? He's like, no, I've left a bunch of money for you. Like there's just things like that kind of hint at like he's a good guy, but these people that are within his inner circle of trust, whatever you want to call it, don't necessarily know that they can't be afraid of him.
Right. Exactly. But no, yeah, there's all sorts of things. Like we've been talking and just slobbering over, this movie just all around nails everything, does it good. And I think people know about this movie, but I still think
at this point, I think it has that like a big enough cult following where like offhand you can be like, yeah, Grosse Pointe Blank. I think High Fidelity still has like
High Fidelity is the that's a popular one.
To be fair, it was a better reviewed and a more prestigious film in all of these things.
Right. It's still a good movie too.
Yeah, it's also one of my favorite movies. But
yeah, Cusack went on a great run here. He had this, Con Air, High Fidelity. He was the man. And he's one of my favorite actors. And he's one of those actors that, like we said, you get Cusack. Like he Cusacks up what he's doing. He'll be great in the role, but you gotta let him mold the character a bit. But yeah. Any more on the?
Yeah, Hank Azaria and K. Todd Friedman that are there.
That's
like
right.
The whole time.
The two guys. Yeah, they're hilarious. I mean, you could watch them for a movie.
That dynamic's fun. Like what they're doing.
Yeah. And he's one of the lesser. I mean, he went on to be a Buffy villain
Yeah,
one season.
that's the main thing I know him as far as
Right.
that goes.
Yeah, he's there.
And obviously Azaria is doing his his
yeah.
thing, but it is still like a rare, like he gets to have like a full-on film role, and he's also
Right.
like a key player and what have you.
Hey, Debbie, long-time listener, first-time caller. Yeah, I'm calling the show. I'm calling this. When he calls into the radio, that's really I enjoy that. But I like when those two also.
I mean, that radio, just to back up, that radio conversation that he has with Debbie, that's the most vulnerable he is in the entire movie.
Oh yeah, vulnerable,
Like,
spotlighted and getting shot, and vulnerable to her and to a public.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
That's the most the killing and whatnot is like, okay, I have to do this. That's the scene where he has no control. Like he has to manage his way out of this.
Yeah.
And he basically loses. Like he doesn't come out successfully from that.
No. There are little moments like when he almost spots Hank Azaria, and they're like, go. Feels real. Feels like this is what's happening. Like this is how it really goes down, rather than super cool dudes being super slick all the time. It's kind of how it feels. Which it's just a genuine, awesome, good time every time I see it, and I've watched it I don't know how many times, but. And you watch it every year on your birthday, so
yeah. So I
know it's at least 53 years old.
Yeah,
so.
that's.
But so if you have anything else, we can move on.
Just see Grosse Pointe Blank. It's out there. You can find it.
All right. Yeah. Okay. What else? This is where we talk about anything else that's going on with us that we've seen, taken part in, or just want to share with a listening audience. Aaron, what have you partaken in, or any pieces you've written, things you've watched that you want to mention?
I mean, currently right now, it's the week of the Toronto International Film Festival. So I've been getting to watch a lot of the films out of there. And certainly some good ones. Nomadland is the new film from Chloe Zhao with Frances McDormand. That's getting a lot of notice, and it's quite good. I watched Pieces of a Woman with my lovely girlfriend. We watched that. She's very good in it. Vanessa Kirby. Who's from like Hobbs and Shaw and Mission Impossible Fallout.
Yep.
And there's an opening 26-minute tracking shot that follows her giving a home birth. That's very intense. And it's a long unbroken shot that does this. It's her and Shia LaBeouf and Molly Parker. That stuff really works. I wish the movie was a little better. I don't want to get too far into how much I like these movies,
right.
but there's some good stuff there. I saw a documentary called MLK/FBI yesterday, which is about the FBI's attempts to basically
set him up. Yeah.
To bug Martin Luther King and to set him up for things and do a lot of things that are very shady, because that's how Hoover was. And that's what society looks like in that time and still now. I've been seeing a lot of different movies for the Toronto Film Festival. As far as things I've written, I mean, like I mentioned, the variety thing, I had an article with an interview with the director of Train to Busan Presents Peninsula, which I was very happy with. And coming at the time of this recording this week, I'll have an interview with the directors of Antebellum, Bush and Renz, talking about the cinematography of that film. And I'm happy with there's a cool bit of information in there that I specifically focused on that I'm very happy with, as far as something that connects that film to Gone with the Wind, of all things. So yeah, just doing that stuff, and just surviving through this whole pandemic thing, which basically means working and watching lots of movies and spending as plenty of time as I can with my girlfriend. We went miniature golfing. As far as things that we're up to, we went miniature golfing last week, which was nice. And yeah, I mean.
Huh?
It just comes down to me listing random things I watched. I mean, I've been watching some Robert Zemeckis movies. I like the Blank Check podcast, and they're doing all Robert Zemeckis right now. So,
gotcha.
Been slowly going through that filmography, because why not?
Why not? You got time.
I hadn't seen I Want to Hold Your Hand before, and you know what? That's a good movie. So there you go.
Excellent. Myself, I currently up at White So Blue. I have a review of the 4K Ultra HD set for the Hitchcock Classics collection, which is really awesome. And Vertigo.
Oh, are those good? Are those good movies?
They're watchable. But no, the restoration on all of them are great. I want to single out Vertigo because it's one of the most stunning things on home video. I put a lot of time into that review for some reason, a lot of pressure with Hitchcock stuff.
Great U2 song.
Yes. I want to talk about this board game I played. recently. I got it for my birthday and I haven't opened it yet. And I was home alone with my children on, being a father, home alone with my children. This past weekend, I finally opened up. It's called Horrified. You've probably seen it around. It's officially licensed Universal Monsters board game.
Ooh.
I thought I didn't have anyone to play with. It says ages 10 and up. And I was like, my kids are smart, and they are. But I started playing that game, and I didn't realize everybody plays as a team on that. So it's
Ooh.
not against one another. So you play together, and you can even play solo, but you don't play all the monsters at once. You could. There's different variations, and super fun. We played it twice. My daughter, who's 6, is in love with this game. She has to play it every night, but it takes about an hour to play. By the time we're done with school and stuff, they need to go to bed. But this game's really fun. It's complex, but if you have someone who knows how to run it, it's pretty fun. And
So are you trying to like escape a castle or something like that, or
you're trying to kill them? You're trying to defeat the monsters.
trying to defeat the monsters? Okay.
Yeah.
So you're not playing as the monsters in a pandemic-like game where you're trying to solve the world's diseases yet also being Frankenstein at the same time. Because I'd be interested.
Not
in that.
quite. You do get to be the monsters. So every time you take a turn, you're a hero. They're based off people from the movies, and the villagers are actual characters from the movies. They actually have Chick and what's his name from Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. They're actually characters. So you have to defeat the monsters. Each monster has a different way it moves around and to defeat it. And you go your turn as a hero, and then you go a turn as a monster. But
Dracula moves like this, but
He
Blackula moves like this.
Oh, that's for the video feed. But yeah, and there's villagers you got to save so the monsters don't kill them. There's items to pick up. It's really fun. It's a lot simpler than it sounds, but yeah, that game's really awesome. I also want to point out that this week on the feed, we're going to have the 7 commentary we recorded for Out Now with Aaron and Abe is going to show up. And it's going to be October, Aaron, so you've already started it up, but the horror podcast that we do on Out Now will be coming out. Those won't be on this feed, but I'm going to be sharing the hell out of them because they're some of the most fun I have through the year.
For sure, yeah. For 5 years now, maybe, we've been doing these every October where we spend the entire month of October putting together bonus episodes themed around various subjects involving the horror genre. We did like the Decades in Horror for our first year, which was a lot of fun. We've talked about slasher movies. We've run the gamut on the different types of things that we can talk about concerning something specific for horror. Yet there's still plenty of other things we could talk about. So we had some cool plans on their way.
All right, excellent. And Aaron, one last time before we head out, where can we find all your beautiful stuff that we've been talking about?
Well, everything I do ends up on my personal blog, thecodeiszeek.com, but I'm also writing movie reviews over at WeLiveEntertainment.com, which is where my TIFF coverage can be found as well. I also cover Blu-rays, Criterion Blu-rays specifically, over at YSOBlue.com. I'm occasionally writing on Variety, and I'm on Twitter at Aaron's PS4.
All right. And you can find my written work at ysoblu.com. You can find more information on the show at the website. And I'm on I'm on Instagram and Twitter at Brandon4KUHD. I'd like to thanks again, Aaron, for coming on. And
thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here on one of your inaugural episodes. I like to think that everyone can cool down after that ridiculous Scott Mendelson was on and can just bask in the glory of Brandon and I talking about something much more worthwhile than David Dobkin's Shanghai Nights, which I like quite a bit. I think it's very good.
It's no Grosse Pointe Blank. So thank you for coming on. I'll be back tomorrow with 4K Blues Day. Until then, just remember to keep the positivity in your online film chatter.
Thank you for listening. The Brandon Peters Show is a Creative Zombie Studios production. Produced by Brad Shoemaker and Brandon Peters. Written and edited by Brandon Peters. Announcer vocals by Jessica Alsman. Theme song by Metavari. Web design and show art by Brad Shoemaker with Brandon Peters. All music and clips featured in the episode are property of their respective studios, and no infringement is intended. Additional information on this and other episodes at thebrandonpetershow.com. For any inquiries, press opportunities, or sponsorship, contact mail at thebrandonpetershow.com. The show is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere podcasts are found.